Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and the first video of the channel in fact. On this channel we will discuss the hobby surrounding the Horus Heresy books, like the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness game, and that will be the main focus of this channel. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the books, but there are other channels already doing that, so I don't think that I will do that as much, only if there's something very interesting in it. Also, I will show you my own painting progress and my own painted miniatures for the game, like my Iron Warriors army or my White Scars. I have the two armies, in fact. And I also want to do a series, the first one, which we also start today in a little bit. Like how to build an heresy army, but a very generic way of building a heresy army, not building any specific ones. And we will also take a look at the different Force Org slots for the Space Marine legions and how you can fill them. And maybe after that, let's see what videos we will do. So now a few informations about me. I'm a huge fan of the Horus Heresy, and my favorite legions are the Iron Warriors and the White Scars. So my two current armies, like I have 8,000 points of Iron Warriors and 3,000 points of White Scars, but I'm fairly certain that I will add more armies, because that's like what I do. I usually start a lot of armies and never finish them. I sell them off, but I hope I won't do that so much. So now that the introduction is out of the way, let's go to the first topic. And the first topic is how to even build a heresy army, how to start a legion army. Because what I saw when I led a campaign, a heresy escalation campaign, to entice new players to start the game, they were asking me, how do I build a legion army? How do I even build that? Like, it's not coming through from the Black Library novels. It's like, and after I gave it some thought, it dawned on me that it could be very hard, because although they are Space Marines, the Legionnaires, and the Legiones Astartes, they are Space Marines, they work entirely different to Astartes chapters. So you have a different force organization chart, for example. You should see it on the screen right now. It is you have the access, and you can only have the one force organization chart. So you have access to 3 HQ slots. That's new from the old 7th edition force organization chart. You can have 4 elites, which is also one more than the force organization chart. Then you can have 6 troops, which is normal, like normal 7th edition force organization chart. 6 troops, 3 fast attack, 3 heavy support. And if you are playing games over 2,000 points, 25% of your points can be Lords of War. If you're doing higher game, like bigger games, you can use more points on your Lords of War, but that would be an extra table, and that's not the topic of today. So, how can you start an army for the heresy in a good way? For example, you can start with some Games Workshop kits, actually, like the Space Marine Heroes you see on the screen right now. They are 2 Heresy HQs, the Cataphractii Praetor and the Chaplain. So, in Horus Heresy there are also chaplains, but they have no skull masks, and usually they are not painted black, like in the chapters of the Astartes chapters. And the Praetor is an chapter master level HQ, but I would recommend you to use this model as some kind of console. You can kind of cut him up a little bit and give him different weapons, but as he is already, he's a good console. he can make a good siege breaker or champion, or even just a base consul, just a base centurion. And after that, you can go for either the Mark III Space Marine squad, which you can see here. Like, these are Heresy era Marines with Heresy era armor. I'm showing you them from the Games Workshop site because, because that's where you can find them. Also in your like local gaming stores or in your preferred online dealers. Or the Mark IV Space Marines. So these are two tactical Marines kits. And even the tactical Marines in the Horus Heresy are kinda different. So, for example, you see this squad here. They have a special weapon and a heavy weapon. That is a configuration of veteran Marines in the Horus Heresy. Tactical Marines in the Horus Heresy all have bolters, bar the Sergeant. If you choose, you can give him a power sword and other weapons. But in the Heresy, all the Marines are armed with bolters, or the Sergeant with something else, a power fist or something. And that is because the legions back in the day had more specialized troops. So you had full squads of melter guns, full squads of flamer guns, and so on. And you can also use these for them, but for the start, when you want to start the Heresy army, I would recommend you to just buy 2 squads of these, the Mark IV or the Mark III, or one Mark III and one Mark IV, and the Space Marine Heroes. So that would leave you, I think, at around about 500 points with it, which is a good starting point. So you can assemble these, you can build them, you can paint them to get familiar with the Heresy painting scheme, and then you can also like practice the painting scheme on them. And also, these tacticals will be good troops choices for most armies. Like, there are special armies that don't want to use normal tactical marines, but they're usually using a rite of war, which makes another unit as compulsory troops, which usually only the tacticals and the assault marines are. But for the generic base army, hey, I want to start the Heresy, 500 points. How do I do it? You buy these Space Marine Heroes from Games Workshop, or even the from Forge World, from Forge World the Space Marine Praetors. Sorry, I had the brain lag. The Space Marine Praetors. And then you buy the plastic squads. You can also buy the resin Mark V or Mark VI squads if you like, but that would be a little more expensive. More like you pay twice the amount for just the troops choices. So if you want to do that, no one will judge you. You can do that. Otherwise, I would use the plastic kits because they are just as good. And then you just paint them, assemble them, and get yourself play a little test games, because most of the people either haven't played 7th edition or it's a long time ago. So you can kind of practice just Marines versus Marines and the Praetor or the Chaplain. You can also, like, the Chaplains in the Heresy actually can take other weapons. So this one has a Crosium Arcanum, which is a Power Maul, but the Power Maul is generally not the best choice, except you're fighting Mechanicum. So you can cut his hand off, or just the handle and the mace, and replace it with a sword, an axe, or a spear. I think he can take a spear. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I would generally go for the axe because it's AP2, and otherwise you can't really harm Terminators. So, if you have the things I told you, you will have your troops choices and your sorry, HQ slots. You have your troops choices and your HQ slots settled. And then you can go for other things like tanks, predators, vindicators, Sicarans, or something like that. But that will be a very good base of your army. And the tactical marines, you can use them in any army. Like in most armies, you can use them. There are like rights of war, as I mentioned before, that make other troops like jet bikes. For my White Scars, there's a right of war called Chigoran Brotherhood that makes like jet bikes and outrider bikes as compulsory troops. So you want to use them, but you will have a use for the tacticals even then, because they can hold objectives. You can sit them in a rhino. They can drive up contest objectives, so they are generally useful. So with these things I told you today, if you buy them, you will generally never, never. Maybe if you have improved in painting so much that you don't want to use them anymore, but you will have a use for these units always. And that's it pretty much. That's it for the first video. I hope I helped you in how to start a very generic army. If you have a right of war in mind you want to use, then this may or may not help you at all. But I was thinking from the perspective of someone who's totally new, doesn't know what rights of war is, what rights of war are, and so on. That he will get his help from this video. So that's it for now. Farewell, everyone. Stay vigilant, stay healthy in these dark times, and until the next video.